So deferred action for childhood arrivals policy. So it says undocumented immigrants who enter the country before their 16th birthday but before June 2007 can receive renewable 2-year work permit and exemption from deportation. So now they're talking about in Missouri, you will pay a higher tuition, and obviously, as you saw, it did not get a very positive response from some of our folks on Twitter. There's been some talk, you were telling me that maybe some folks who in Missouri are unenrolling and going across the river to Illinois.
Both Kansas and Illinois, those undocumented students can pay in-state tuition rates. So we know that some of our students are now going to SIU Edwardsville.
But to be fair, we're talking about maybe a few dozen students here in the St. Louis area, which for them individually could be several $1,000s. But is it a larger issue than these few dozen to you? Is this a larger message that you want to send to immigrants?
Yes, I mean, it's increasingly states around the United States are sending messages about being welcome and wanting an educated workforce. And really, we want an educated workforce in our state. And part of that is when you have young people that have been brought here and now they actually have been shielded from deportation, we want them educated so they will be our workforce. And to do that, they need to get an education. And so if we're a state that either encourages that, we will get an educated workforce. And if we're a state that doesn't, we will essentially encourage them and other families seeking education to go elsewhere, leaving us with a less educated workforce. I also know that the Syrians have a better educated workforce. I was looking at some of the data in Europe. Their workforce in the refugee camps has a higher degree of professional degrees, college degrees, than our native workforce as well. So again, it would add to our educated workforce if we think about having an educated state workforce.
Why would this be a priority to the legislature, do you think, if it only affects, let's say, 50 people in the St. Louis region, in the largest metro region in the state? Why go to the trouble to tell immigrants under the DACA program that you need to pay a higher tuition?
Well, you have to ask a legislator, but I think what the reason any public policy is passed is to address an issue that is recognized. In this case, look, Yogi Berra passed away. Yogi Berra's parents came from Italy, right? We have had a history of immigration in this country, and after Yogi Berra's parents came, we went through a period where we went down to almost none. For decades, no immigration. Because why? We wanted to assimilate the Yogi Berras of the world, and we wanted to give them jobs. And I find it very, very hard to listen to someone say we need to bring in people to work because Americans aren't smart enough or educated enough. I prefer that we educate poor black kids in North City instead of kids that are here illegally because their parents made mistakes. It's not a moral, I'm not judging them morally. I'm saying there's a matter of policy. There's lots of poor black kids, lots of poor white kids, lots of poor other kids that are here, Italians like Yogi Berra, who deserve a chance in our system. And the preference should be for in-state people who pay taxes. The idea is you pay taxes and are part of the community legally, and you should have that preference. And I think we should have great moral feeling for people and all that, but the decision has to be made about our people, our family. Before we grow our family, what you said says, I care really about bringing in educated Syrians because they're smarter than our kids. I reject that. And that is unacceptable thinking because kids graduate from Rolla and can't get jobs in STEM because they're beaten out by the system of immigration where we allow in Indians and others. Because why? Not because we prefer Indians, it's because the Silicon Valley likes to pay cheaper wages. I mean, I sound like a liberal. I want wages to lift for everybody, and I think this is a terrible idea. So, look, I think the legislature should be congratulated for defending and respecting our people.
Faizan, do you worry that the Syrians would be as welcome as the Bosnians based, I hate to say it, but just strictly on the fact of race, on skin color, rather?
So that's definitely an interesting concern. We have to realize, first and foremost, not all Syrians are look differently. So many Syrians are whiter skinned. Some of them have blonde hair, they have blue eyes, these things. Also, not all Syrians are Muslim. There's a wide array of religiosities that are coming in the United States, accepting all different religions and backgrounds. I do fear that part of the rhetoric to keep Syrians out that I hear is anti-Islamic rhetoric. We see a lot of Islamophobia inside the United States. We see president candidate Benjamin Carson saying that he wouldn't want the president to be the president. He wouldn't want a Muslim to be the president of the United States. And you hear a lot more of this type of rhetoric going on. And what that does, that really creates an atmosphere where people, A, feel unwelcome, where I know working with CARE, we've had Islamic centers burned to the ground in Missouri. We've had people shot. We've had people attacked. We've had people, even myself, I receive death messages usually once a month or once every other month from this. So when you have this type of rhetoric going on, it does create that type of hospitality.
We'll have to leave it right there. Betsy, Ed, Faizan, and Raymond, thank you all for your time. Thank you. Until next week, stay tuned. Thank you, guys.